Hey, hi, hello. So, Melanie Martinez's Hades album came out exactly the day that I decided to do an album review in this way. So, I've created a painting for every single one of the songs on it, and what we're gonna do is go through each song individually. I'll show you me making the painting for it, and at the end, I'll turn it into a little narrative for the album as a whole, hopefully. My credentials to do something like this are very simple. First of all, I've listened to this album a million gazillion times. I get to listen to music at work, so every shift, for 8 to 12 hours a shift, that's what I've done. And while I was making the paintings for each song, I listened to that song on repeat to help capture the vibe of what it was to me at the time. I am not a student of the mystical arts of music theory, and I also know absolutely nothing about the artist or their deep lore, so I will not be getting into either of those things, but I do like words. So, I will be reading through the lyrics and doing a little bit of a talking about them, doing a little bit of an interpretation, and I've been enjoying working on this so far. And I hope that you'll enjoy going through the rest of this process with me. Let's get into it. Our introduction to the album is Bird Song, silenced by the sound of impact and screams. We're setting the scene. The earth and people being destroyed by human violence. The reaction to this is distraction through substances, technology, and calls to higher powers. We get even more specific. We're in America. No service is left but the service you give to your fellow American man. Our prospective character distinguishes herself against this backdrop by her calls to action. To wake up the neighbors and children, to stop the policemen from killing. And most clearly, in the second to last verse here, in a kind of call and response style, she claims that despite the horror, surveillance, and powerlessness experienced, she believes that an escape is possible, community is necessary, and evil can be overcome. There's a naivety here emphasized by the instrumentals between this stanza and the next last verse. The music swells and the gunfire that's been lightly punctuating each verse before it becomes a full battery, before stopping suddenly and letting the song continue. Beauty and garbage, without it we wouldn't hold hands. There's a lovely reply to one of the first lines of the song here. Take what it gives you this time, grows and evolves into take what it gives you, look from a new view, and build something better this time. The scene is set. We know where and when we are, and we understand our point of view character's perspective. As we travel with her through the album and through the world, we're going to see her search for that view. So my painting for this song is a group of people holding hands around a flower blooming from the refuse, and I made some big scary spikes all around it to menace them. I think the piece does its job of capturing that idea of finding community to honor beauty within terrifying times. The next song on the album is called Is This a Cult?
Is this a cult? Can we revolt?
Our prospective character, seduced by wealth, power, sensuality, and signs of meaning, follows her dubious guide to a cult-like environment. I mean, it might be a cult. There are long white dresses. There is a charismatic leader. Our character not only questions these developments, but also seems to think that a regime change might be in order. And so this is entirely tangential, right? But have you ever listened to a song and you heard a lyric wrong, but you liked the way that you heard the lyric better than how the lyric actually is? Because I have one of those here. So, for some background, there's a character named Gideon in the Bible, and he's a bit of a doubter, right? So he decides to put a fleece out overnight, and he says, "Hey God, in the morning, if the fleece is wet and the ground around it is dry, I will totally believe in you, totally do what you say." Doesn't turn out to be everything that he wanted. He does try it the other way the next day, but that does nothing to. But the reason I bring that up is that here I heard the line, "His fleece may be wet when I pulled out a knife," giving us the dual meaning of him being a wolf in sheep's clothing and also a doubter who she proves her divinity to by right of the violence that she can enact against him. The lyric is actually that his face made me wet when I pulled out a knife, which shows that she's getting off on having power over someone, which is fine. That's fine. It's absolutely fine, but I'm gonna choose to hear it wrong absolutely every single time, and nobody can stop me. Anyway, as the song continues, she has found a community. She has gained dominance over their once oppressor, but has she just subsumed the power without changing anything meaningful? It reminds me of that very human tendency that when faced with great evil, some seek to conform to the shape of that evil because they continue to associate it with power because of the power that it once had over them. Yes, her followers can wear what they want, but there's still someone taking the brunt of their frustrations, someone being controlled. She cannot escape the question, even in her seat of power. Is this a cult? I like this song, and it has a little bit of a creepy vibe. It's not my favorite on the album, but I still enjoy it. Mostly for the titular phrase, the way that she says it has a bit of yearning to it, a bit of vulnerability, which I very much enjoy. I'm also pretty happy with the art that I made for it here. I have, of course, this is Judy, Margaret, Lisa, and Sunny standing behind her as she rides their once oppressor. And yeah, I feel like it's a very dark turn for our naive protagonist, but very enjoyable as a listener. Unfortunately, it's going to get even darker.
Baby, I'm your possession. Handle me like a weapon.
Due to some traumatic experience, possibly the events of the past song, our character is not in the right headspace, ending up in a relationship with a man who doesn't treat her like a whole human person. And she plays the role. He dusts me off each day. I'm made of porcelain clay. I feed him kisses so I don't break down to pieces. And now he's hungry. I'll feed him candy. Although she's the fragile one, he handles her like a weapon. Like she's the one who has the control over him. She feeds him kisses and candies, sweet empty things, and protects him from her pain when he cheats. You won't see me cry when women come by. And he lies and screams, and she goes along, diddy-dum. She subsumed the role in its entirety. She doesn't keep house, she is the housekeeper. But no matter how well she hides her pain from him as she's been taught to, that pain that he won't accept has to go somewhere, even if inwards. I try my best to bite my tongue, but it keeps bleeding. She pays for the ignorance that she affords him, but begins to realize that not being able to accept her suffering as well as her pleasantries isn't love. And the outro goes, took the keys and left, drove into a tree, walked around for a minute, people staring at me, concussion reversing all the damage I had. I may be bruised, but it's not that bad. She's done something self-destructive, but it's knocked her out of the pattern. Here we see what the rest of the song has been dripping in once again, a minimization of her own suffering. She's done something self-destructive, but it's knocked her out of the pattern. People around her can now see her pain, and to her, getting out of this cycle of suffering might indeed be worth it. She may be bruised, but it's not that bad. I like this song. I feel like it describes the emotional experience of being in that particular flavor of abusive relationship pretty well. The more I listened to it, it began to sound more and more comforting, even though the subject matter is still very disturbing. I like how the painting turned out, especially the expression on her face and the colors. I feel like I was able to get the doll-like aspect of it across pretty well. I'm not exactly happy with the hands that are holding her. I took a lot of really awkward reference photos to try to get them correct, and I feel like I could have done more there, but at least it feels cohesive to me anyway. The next song is called White Boy with a Gun.
He said, don't you know that I'm a real nice guy?
This interaction feels like a lesson learned from the last song. She's no longer okay with protecting others' perception of self from her honest reaction. She's letting him know that the hookup is all that she wanted when she says, "You'll never see me." But also, she's learned to tell when someone can't see her entirety. In the previous song, she spoke of feeding her partner kisses and candies, right? But in this case, when he chomps on her, she reacts. Chomped on my flesh, revealed his true side. His ignorance slipped, and so did my fist. Punched him real hard, bet it felt like a kiss. Any reaction you give to another person is a form of intimacy. Even in rebuffing him, she shows more of who she is to him. In the chorus, she rails against him, saying that though he professes to have the correct belief, she knows that he's being deceitful in this, and he responds by saying, "Don't you know that I'm a real nice guy?" Nice guys are pretty famous nowadays. They're the type of person who operates under the attitude of, "I behaved in the way that I thought you wanted me to, so why won't you give me you?" And if their request is denied, they react with violence or derision, often calling the person doing the rejection cruel or foolish, because really, they're such a nice guy. This song blends that famous caricature with a similar delusion more widespread in this world that saying the right things, wearing the correct labels, makes people good, no matter what the actual results of the things they support are. She references the idea of the enlightened centrist here. The women, the men, the center spotlight. Their ignorant brains call genocide war, protect white feelings while they swipe and ignore. The enlightened centrist often stands between the red team and the blue team and adroitly determines that both are misguided, of course, but also makes some good points. It's easier to see both sides of them than to truly examine how one perceives and moves through their reality and honestly face the horrors of a world that treats people like things. She cites one example where the idea of equality of the genders was co-opted into girl boss feminism. Girl power means no human, no heart, just labels masquerading for corporate charts. taking something with really good bones, with really true concerns, and boiling it down into, look, guys, isn't she cool? Women can exploit and be bloodthirsty too. And there's a real profit motive in convincing people they don't need to do the work. They can instead buy in, often literally, to the idea that they are good, dressed up in the right labels, saying the right things, which, of course, makes them real nice people. The song goes, "The day the walls of the cities will crumble away, uncovering our naked souls, all start singing, shouting, screaming." Calling back to that first song here, that scene of desolation, of holding hands in the wreckage, supposing that perhaps what will truly let us see each other, the force that will allow us to break from the propaganda or just be honest with each other, is the dissolution of society. I enjoyed listening to this song, especially the way that the chorus flows one line to the other, has a nice rhythm to it. And I do relate to the frustration of meeting people who spout a lot of nice guy rhetoric, even in the political realm, while behaving in a way and holding beliefs and acting in ways that are very contradictory to the ideas they very, very excitedly tell me about. And I like the painting that I made here. I think I got the annoyance on the face of the girl on point, as well as the no-face inspired smiling white mask barely covering the nebulous unexamined depths beneath it. And our next song is Disney Princess. We begin with a kind of cutesy intro. Our character, abandoned and disillusioned, falls down the sewer and gets led astray. Monsters, demons, and all the rest took her soul and innocence. They tweezed and pulled all that was left, till she was made a Disney princess. Our character, having given up on finding something outside of the garbage, becomes part of the machinery, part of the propaganda. She's committed and fueled by self-destructive habits. Even after accepting this as her new role, she still longs for connection, though she knows she can only gain that through individuals within her personal life. In a job where attention is what gets her paid, she still doesn't want to be seen as desperate for it. He says, "I fight for relevance, the words I feared since I was young. Please don't go. You're the only one who sees my soul." She's accepted the belief that she is special, that her role as the adored one is deserved, but misses her old naivety. The resentment builds as others gain benefits from her sacrifice without having to pay the price she does. Too young, out late with nothing on. Parents got rich out having fun. As in possession, she is again suffering for the benefit of others through over-sexualization, exploitation, and self-destruction, but finds it hard to leave because now at least she's getting something out of it. Money and notoriety. Can't toss this gold. It's my name that they know. Who's all this for if I'm so miserable? I want to kill all these devils. She wants to kill all the devils she fucked in the first recourse, mirroring the tale of Is This a Cult, but without the power to do so. There is no rising through the ranks to the head cult leader here, rather a bit of a tragedy of someone exploited but still profiting from the machine that they're a part of, losing sight of what they started for in the beginning. I enjoyed listening to the song. The chorus has this momentous energy to it. I think it really helps with getting you in the idea of someone living fast despite the consequences, where the behind the scenes liquor and cocaine, suffering and pain is worth it, is sung with the same excitement as we can go there faster than they can, faster than the average person. Come on, worship me, I'm perfect. And I like the art that I made for it once again. I painted her chained to the very pedestal that exalts her and kind of stitched together to show that she is more of a product than a person under those beaming lights. The next song is my absolute favorite on the album, Grudges.
Fuck around that much and oh, you'll find a grudge for life.
Monsters, demons, and all the rest took her soul and innocence in Disney Princess, and now she becomes monstrous. The vengeance we saw in Is This a Cult comes back full force. I just want to burn bridges and kill bitches and pour their medicine in their mouth and give them a taste. No longer willing to accept harm, she wants to give it back, to do unto them as they hath done to her. I really like this line, call the cops, I'll feed two birds with a scone, where we use the idiom for taking care of two things at once to express, go on, call the cops on me. I'll invite them in, give them hospitality, and presumably tell them what you did to me. And taking care of both problems at once. Now look at what you've done to me. I used to let them step on my vertebrae, and now I'm the one skipping and laughing and cheering. It's baffling how magic works. I mean, I lit a candle for this, burned some bay leaves for this, cried to God for this. To turn me into an I don't give a single flying fuckity fuck machine. Magic is a practice often used to gain understanding and control over your own perspective. The candle is kind of a utility knife in that practice, used for focusing intent, while bay leaves are usually for luck and fortune. She's gained understanding of her personal power, and she's making her own success, releasing herself from the control of others' opinions. She's recognized the mundanity of the evil that she's experienced, and even the kindest parts of herself can't forgive those who caused it. My angels put a hex on ya. Guess they had a grudge too. No rhyme or reason for your mistreatment. She's done trying to figure out why they chose to hurt her, but credits them for her monstrous transformation. I like this song so much. It has a very dramatic and creepy vibe to it. I don't think it's entirely great for our perspective character. She's definitely a lot more alone now than she was in her last I've Got the Power song, Is This a Cult? But she's out of the despondency and defeatism that the last few songs engendered within her, and that's lovely in itself. But yeah, I just found it a lot of fun to listen to, a lot of fun to paint to. Did a couple little jigs in my chair while I was working on this piece. I think it does represent the idea that I was trying to get across. Gave her a little bit of a grudge-like pose, never seen the movie, but looked up photos from the movie. And of course we have a circle representing the magic with some blue in there for the glass ceiling that she's looking to smash on through, and her two friendly little angels hanging out behind her, looking out into the world with definitely love. But yeah, fun song. Now we move on to Monopoly Man. After reclaiming herself last song, our character has become dissatisfied. She wants to find love and isn't okay with putting so much of her work into something that Monopoly Man profits from, while she gets just enough to lead her along. She turns her gaze to him. Baby, you're Fifth Ave, penthouse by the beach, got so many houses while nobody else can eat. Still you're making more than you can spend in a whole eternity, Monopoly Man. What's your desire? Only earth and stars, but still you climb higher. Do your damage, baby. What's it gonna take? What's it gonna take? for you to get it straight. You to get it straight, boy. It's a failure of society that people can get that much wealth and power, and a personal failure of morality, not only for them to get to that point, but also to continue living that way. It stinks of the same delusion that allowed for our nice guy to say he was, but less forgivable because this monopoly man can and does cause so much more harm, not only to people, but to the earth we share. The song seems to grapple with that, with how could someone keep going with that delusion that somehow the number going up is more important than other people, than life on Earth. They've got all the resources to go get help, looking inwards and become better, but just don't. What would be enough? Kill him with it. Fists and the holster. Make him really work for it. Put him in the dirt, girl. Shit on him. Make him lick the ground, babe. Empty the account. Spread it all around. I find this part confusing. It definitely fits with the whole last half of Cult and Grudge, go off, kick ass girls, show that man what for energy, but it seems impotent. It feels more like a temper tantrum than a call to action. I tried to paint a guy with scythes in his hands climbing up a tower of humans suffering into outer space from the earth far, far below, so far that we can't see it. But if we saw it, it'd be on fire. Oh, maybe I should have added flames. No, too late.
Probably could find better, but I'm asking you to step it up.
Our character has entered another relationship, one she is invested in but lacks closeness, because her partner isn't sharing themselves with her. The emotional intimacy isn't there, but she still wants to fight for it. I've kept my hand in the pot for way too long till it falls off. Like the frog in the pot of water that when it heats up doesn't notice the gradual change and escapes before it turns to a boil. Our character here doesn't notice the harm that the relationship is causing her, and it's separating her from herself. She seems to think that the reason that they won't open up to her is because they fear she won't be able to take it. What are you fearing? That I'll be leaving. The more you stitch your lips until nothing slips, I could see it. Which has her trying to prove how truly committed she is, further investing. She begins to set her boundaries. I'm no psychic. I don't know if you'll fight for this or fight yourself, 'cause the next time I hear you yell at me, I am running. She won't put up with being treated in ways she'd accepted before, but it's hard to let go of something you've spent so much effort on. But by the end, she accepts that the relationship may be on its last legs without devaluing the effort she put in, without concluding that she wasn't enough. And though earlier she doesn't want anyone else to benefit from the relationship, by the end she recognizes that the place of this may just be a chapter of a continuing life. If the fall of our memory comes to be true, then I'll know I did everything I could do to show you the depth of what love can pursue. When you're out there talking to someone new, think of everything that I have given you. Maybe she can get some of that too. That's what my love can do. This song didn't really stand out to me in any way, but it was pleasant enough. I tried to show a character here pulling scales off of a shell that their partner is inside. I hope you can see the silhouette well enough. I'm not sure that comes across. I wanted to represent that separation and a little bit of the loneliness in the subject's eyes. Yeah, anyway, after this, we move on to Monolith.
I am the monument, the monolith.
Our character falls into introspection and self-pity, seeing now that she's accepted depersonalization again, her sense of self defined by who she is to others. When wolves come to hunt my flesh, I wish someone would save me, 'cause God knows that I spend my life doing all of the saving. I guess that I'll just be a cardboard cutout or a meme, whatever they want me to be. There's a self-aggrandizement in taking on the role of savior. She's more than human. By being the only giver, she's acting like she's above the need for real partnership, though that's far from the truth. There's also an insecurity there, in the need to be needed. She feels like she can't run away, because how would she define herself if not through the service she can provide for others? She refers to herself as a doll, a stitched-up doll with their heart beating, calling back to possession. She's stitched up, not fully healed from the experience, but still alive and still falling prey to the compulsion to minimize her suffering. Still unseen, she wonders if she should leave again. I really adore the last part of this song, where she repeats a pillar, an icon, a relic, a ruin, a demon, a whore, a girl who is stupid, over and over. And the explanation as to why I adore it requires a little bit of a personal tangent. So, when I've gone through a situation that is particularly difficult or complicated, and I'm not sure how to process it, I'll go through and write it down 3 ways. 1, from the perspective that I am an evil, deplorable human who has the worst of all possible intentions, and bonus points if it makes me cry about, how awful I am. And the second way is to write as though I am completely blameless, an angel. Okay, someone beyond reproach, unfairly beset upon by all the horrors of the world and completely misunderstood. Bonus points if it makes me laugh. And finally, I will write down, for a 3rd time, from the perspective of me just being a human person capable of making mistakes, misinterpreting, and not living up to who I want to be in the world, while still allowing some external effects to have caused the way that things turned out. And generally speaking, after I've gone through and done it, the 3rd one seems to match more to reality, and also strangely seems to be somewhere between the first 2. And that's what the last part of this song reminds me of. There's a lovely rhythm, a rise and fall of self-perception in the repeated phrases. She is a pillar, something strong that stands on its own, immutable, an icon representing more than herself, a relic containing a portion of divinity within its sacred coffers, a demon, an evil and destructive force, a whore, in the context of the song, someone exchanging their personhood for validation, a girl who is stupid, probably the closest to reality. Overall, yeah. Our character has now understood the internal cost of the avoidant toxicity and linked her susceptibility to it back to the abuse in possession. From here, she turns her gaze further outward, and this seems like a checkpoint in the album, really. As we continue, the perspective shifts quite a bit from a more personal lens, a travel, to more of an observation of things that exist outside of the character, generally. For this song, I wanted to keep the idea of that kind of tongue-in-cheek divinity, giving her a nimbus around her head, floating up in the air as this supreme being, while also showing the frailty that she has and how she's, battered, bruised, and scorned. I think I really like the colors in this piece, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And the next song is called Weight Watchers. Our character is grappling with internalizing external perception, and ultimately does, first as personal control, then allowing others to change her body for her. How normal it is to contort and contract all my muscles, remembering to still arch my back, and I gua sha each day, but my face still has fat. Someone told me their doctor could get rid of that, taking on the assumption that it's her personal responsibility to make her body more attractive to others, and is ultimately pleased with the result. But even with the changes to her consciousness's skin and meatmobile, though she can exert changes on it, she can't control the perceptions others have of it, the perceptions that instigated the change in the first place. Spent so many years being cute on the TV. Before I could blink, I became nearly 30. And I got bigger boobs so that I could transcend it. Now all that I read is, hey, I think she's pregnant. It's another practice in trying to be what others want her to be, accepting discomfort to do so. This time not from a partner, but from societal pressure. And yeah, the song describes it. The chorus is fun. It's got a lively, upbeat dancing jig to it, so I painted it fun-wise as well, and I think it turned out neat. I like the kind of fanciful pose here. Anyway, move on to The Plague.
It's the plague, the sunshine.
Since the stage has been set as our world, we can guess what plague our character is experiencing. Experiencing the horror, referencing old plague remedies. Wash the air with rosemary, the isolation, the massive scope, the cost, and the feeling of impending civilizational doom. Nuclear war will take us next. Our character becomes even more disillusioned, witnessing the casual disinterest of others within the devastation. This song indicates a push away from community. People are just dying right on the block, and nobody cares, and a pull towards fear and foretelling of the end. I like the little bit between the last two stanzas. There's a nice beat, some cool electronic zippity-zoots, punctuated with coughs. Thought that was pretty pleasant to hear. Since the song kind of just said, yes, there's a plague and we're experiencing it, I kind of copied that vibe in my painting here. With a little plague doctor holding a sprig of rosemary with some hopefully oppressive feeling buildings gathering behind them. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. And next on the deck is Batshit Intelligence. We look again to the Monopoly Man, or the parasite cannibal class. There's a lot of commonalities between the two songs here. She speaks of her resentment and what they deserve for their role in the horror. She describes the earth as on fire, but now rather than expecting anything from the earth to help, where's the alien who can save us now? And sings of the great unifier of all that lives. Mother Nature screams, death is guaranteed. She makes the first call to community since garbage, and marks her true enemy as those members of the cannibal class, seeing her fellow people as victims even when they seem against her. This song speaks of the frustration of falling into the traps of those who can't even really make plans that well. Their machinations are see-through, yet still feel insurmountable. Possibly a valid tangent, I can't help myself, but trees growing by the ocean have a really, really rough time of it. The salt spray kills their leaves. The sands don't really give that solid of a ground, color me surprised. And the winds buffet them relentlessly. They form these really beautiful twisted trunks due to the harsh conditions and don't grow as tall as their inland counterparts. But their roots are way more vast in relation to their size, either spreading out to give them a wide, solid base to stabilize them, and or delving extremely deep to get to fresh water to support them. And I could talk about trees forever, but I just wanted to mention that, due to the wise are the tortured trees by the ocean. I painted a cosmic figure here, viewing the earth, holding it like an apple with a worm peeking out of it and gazing back at the expanse. Even the cannibal class must have some memento mori. And, I don't know, maybe that's what they're hiding from in their holes of power. The outro of the previous song is the intro for this one, a pretty clear line between the harms perpetrated by those with the batshit intelligence, leading to the suffering of people who can't afford to live. Okay, so I hate this song. It got me a few times, not gonna lie. I cried a few times listening to this, but I feel like that's more because of the subject matter than how well it's talked about. I felt this growing more in the album, the lack of poetic investment or imagination or, I don't know, care. And so far this one feels the worst for that. Now this next bit is the most interesting part of this song, but it confuses the heck out of me. Here we go. If everything's said and done and you're around, I'm a run. I'd rather die than be near you. Evil is as evil does. Y'all can just go get fucked. We'll be haunting you, haunting you, haunting you. Okay, so the rest of the song is sung as an observer. Our character condemning those who don't have empathy for people who are homeless. Is this bridge from that same perspective, even though it's sung in a slightly different voice? If so, who is the we in the haunting? It almost makes more sense in a dialogue. Those lacking empathy singing the first two lines, and those who are suffering responding with the last two. Because we mentioned that they'll end up frozen. Or is the character grouping herself with the sufferers? But she doesn't involve herself in the narrative outside of this. There's an interesting seed here, this haunting, the idea that everyone is affected in some way by the fact that our society abandons people, that the pain travels, that the specter of that pain, the fear of falling to that abandoned class is poisonous. That could have been an angle to approach, but the song doesn't. She says, you don't see the harm. It could have been framed as paranormal, the way that people ignore others like they're ghosts, that if we don't see them, then they're not there. But the song doesn't commit to anything except for just saying that the thing exists. I mean, there's another call for community and not to get used to things being this way, but the rest just seems incurious. And I hate it. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not listening to this the right way. You know, it's not usual for people to go through the albums and listen to each song on repeat for hours while they're painting pictures. But the annoyance just built over time, I fear. I let that affect the artwork. I admit it. I kind of really rushed through this one. It won't happen again, I promise. Okay, doing 18 paintings in less than a month, I get one fuck up. Okay, I get one fuck up. I don't think that I got the forms correct here in the gutter. I don't think it really comes off as people, like as the same kind of like amorphous human suffering that the girl is looking away from, you know, sadly. I don't think I got that across well. But yeah, I get one fuck up. Anyway, moving on to Uncanny Valley.
Is that what you want? Uncanny Valley hard, never enough, give you all my love.
Okay, so if you've been reading the lyrics that I've so kindly and benevolently left on the left side of the screen for you, for your viewing pleasure, I need you to consider what I am considering. And if I'm entirely wrong here, that's on me, okay? Do the lyrics seem more and more substanceless as we go along to you two? Because that's what I'm experiencing. And it's a struggle, okay? It's a terrible struggle, a terrible weight on my shoulders, because I want to say useful things. I want to be able to glory in lyrics that I like. I want to, you know, riff off this shit, and I want to enjoy it, but I'm finding it more and more difficult to do so as we go along here. Oh my gosh. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Anyway, Uncanny Valley refers to usually computer-generated images that seem a little too perfect or just a little bit off from what we would expect from a human face. This song seems to be retreading a lot of the same ground as Weight Watchers. The differences being that in Weight Watchers, we get a lot more into the nitty-gritty details of what she does to attempt to achieve the beauty standard, whereas in Uncanny Valley, she describes the beauty standard more, not just as not be fat, but in a more microscopic level. And also in Weight Watchers, the character ultimately fails to live up to the perception that she wanted to gain from others. And in this song, although in the choruses she rails against the beauty standard and says that people should be allowed to keep their flaws, she ultimately wins. Your boyfriend liked my pick this time. I like the cadence that the verses are sung in. It goes a bit like golden skin and cherry cheeks, some etched out abs and toned obliques, little upsy downsy. It's fun to sing along to. Yeah, so I drew the character. And tried to get some of the tiredness in her eyes and the beauty standard kind of rising above her. I don't think I was able to encapsulate the idea of uncanny valley in the figure above her, but honestly I wasn't trying that hard to do so. Just wanted to get some fat lips and big old eyes on them. Next up is the Vatican.
Confess your sins.
So this song is a mess. We begin talking about how male supremacy hurts everyone, especially those considered below. She links male supremacy with Christianity and Catholicism and also violence. Moving on to say, hey, if y'all are that enamored with men, if you really think they're that great, then why don't you just kiss each other? You know, it's pretty gay that you like men so much. And then in the chorus, like in Is This a Cult?, she proffers up the idea of a regime change. Perhaps you should worship the divine feminine instead. But when we get into the second verse, bet the Pope looks so enticing, tantalizing, with the secrets that he must keep in. Bet those robes they wear make you feel kind of freaky. Well, too bad, they are all celibate. It's no wonder all the scandals are involving hurting little boys. If y'all just fucked each other, did some poppers, you'd see God and finally rejoice. There's this really harmful propaganda that's been going on for decades and is still just as alive in our world right now as it was back then, completely unfounded, connecting LGBTQA plus individuals to pedophilia, to ostracize them, demonize them. And this song plays into that. It doesn't even feel intentional. It just seems like a natural result of writing so superficially, so thoughtlessly, so carelessly. It seems like, of course I don't know the author's heart, but it seems like she's just not putting enough work into it. But my mind's fighting that, right? Like, there must have been so many people involved in the making of this album. So many people who could have been like, hey, no, actually, this is harmful propaganda. Maybe you could go another angle with this. Like, I don't know, one of the two angles that already exist within the song. The first being that male supremacy hurts those who are more vulnerable, or the angle of the divine feminine. You know, like, maybe if women were in charge, children wouldn't be hurt. I'm not saying those are the angles I would go with this. I wouldn't go any angles with this, but just the absolute ridiculousness of approaching such a sensitive and horrifying topic so carelessly, I guess. Just oh my gosh. This was the choice. And if the purpose of this song is, as it seems to be, to shit on religion and make a mockery of it, to very edgily apply a label that fundamentally Christian people or Catholic people would find abhorrent onto them, like some early 2000s middle school bully, then I can tell you from my own experience that fundamentalist people aren't listening to Melanie Martinez. But also, from my own experience, I can't sing to you, be careful, little ears, what you hear. People are allowed to listen to whatever they wanna, but I hope if you didn't know that that's a thing that was being pushed, maybe now you do. I don't know. I don't know. I just wish that when I came to devour it, I wouldn't get this cherry pit of bigoted propaganda stuck in my throat. Yeah, I like choral music being put into songs that are of different genres. I like dirty beats. I like deconstructing religion in song form. Like, those are all things that I like. I just wish that more thought was put into this. Maybe maybe that's all I'm saying. Anyway, I still wanted to make something that I liked, so I pulled a bit from that whole divine feminine worship me instead and put a little snake on the staff here for the corruption within organized religion, and we're moving on from Vatican into Hell's front porch. And thank God we're moving on. Our character has accepted the destruction of the world. She's found a community without connection. She says we and our and describes the actions taken with others, but not who they are, only the methods by which they numb and distract. There's an inevitability she sees as deserved. It's no longer just the cannibal class that she sees as destructive, but humanity as a whole. Because we're all a bunch of parasites just drilling on her turf. And just like in batshit intelligence, she calls out for rescue, but now not to some alien, now just anyone. My favorite lyric from this song is, "Smog is seeping in our lungs. Wish it could get me high, 'cause if it did, then I could justify it." The absolute acceptance, with a kind of passive wish that there could be something enjoyable to get from the absolute desolation of our earth. Even with its really dark lyrics, the song still has a rather chill vibe to it, which I reflected in the piece. I drew her here lounging in an outdoor chair, smoking a cigarette while fire rains from the sky. Her paltry umbrella possibly not the best protection for what's occurring around her. I gave it kind of a cross between surrealism and pin-up art, and liked how it turned out. Probably one of my favorite illustrations, at least. One of the ones that I feel captures the song the best. Definitely top 18 for sure. And after this, we turn to the song Chat Room. This song is agonizing, both for me to listen to and for the singer. And though I am a firm believer in the ability to separate the art from the artist, this song makes that so difficult. It's the longest song on the album, and it's a long-form, tormented complaint broken up by lines of spoken frustrations, wondering if others have errors in themselves that make them look for errors in her, talking shit about them and herself, and finally blaming them for her own self-hatred. But let's talk about selling your soul. It's a phrase often used by fans when an artist they like becomes more famous, usually when the art suffers as a result, loses its soul. But there's another piece of truth in there. To allow yourself to be produced, marketed, and distributed as a product, you're losing your secular soul. Any illusion of control over the effect that your life has and that which lingers after your death. There are people that we all know who no longer exist. And their humanness, the personhood of them, lost through repetition and reproduction, their ghost lingering conceptual figures pasted on products until freed into the common domain, fractured, trapped eternally in the fractalated perceptions of strangers long after anyone who knew them has left. I don't know why people want fame. It seems like a cruel thing, a twisted sacrifice that continues to be made that no one really knows how to deal with the ramifications of. As a viewer, it's useful to know, so you can separate art from the artist on the financial level if need be. But for the artist, it just seems destructive. And I made a figure staring into a mirror that stares at them. And put some more eyes around them, because why not? And though I don't have a good transition, and this has nothing to do with what we were just speaking about here, we have to segue into this video's not sponsor. This video has not been brought to you by paying for shit that you don't have to. We live in dangerous times. Even here on the internet, there are heinous criminals running rampant, not only doing crimes, but teaching others how to do them also. They go by many names, but most call themselves pirates. These retrobates offer a litany of excuses for why they don't pay for media. They're poor, or want to try it out before they choose to pay, or don't want to support an artist whose views or actions they disagree with. Before you fall prey to such arguments, ask yourself one question. Are you a corporation scraping the internet for your AI database? If the answer is no, then what gives you the right? Now shut up and pay for shit you don't have to. This message has not been brought to you by paying for shit that you don't have to. Paying for shit that you don't have to would also like you to forget that all art and knowledge should be available to humanity because it is the product of human civilization over time. It belongs to whoever has enough capital to aggregate it and put it behind a paywall. Ask your budget if paying for shit that you don't have to is right for you. Our character has reached a complete acceptance of hedonism. When the end comes, when it's truly over, our character isn't out holding hands with her community or singing, shouting, screaming as she foretold in the songs before. Instead, she follows her body's desire, comparing the experience to human violence, natural disasters, and divinity. Where she once made pleas to not become immune to the suffering of others, now she ignores it. Everybody knows it. Might as well come closer. Heart to heart and sweaty, baby. Everything's decaying. Everybody's dying. You're the one I'm holding. Explosions. Fuck me like we're the last two people on Earth. We're far from where we began, though the scenery has stayed the same. She is what's changed. I didn't expect this as the album's conclusion the first time I heard it, showing my bias here. I did expect the transformative power of love or the alchemy of creative expression to be our character's answer, but I do love a tragedy. And this one feels especially poignant because of its hollowness. I made this painting reversible so there could be a clear delineation between the reality of the world around her and the little bubble she's created for herself. So now, we get to the most delightful part. We're going to lay the images out and follow our character from cataclysm to cataclysm and see what narrative we find as we travel through Hades. The world is a scary and dangerous place. She knows this, but also knows deep within her soul that the salvation of this problem comes from finding community who will protect and honor the beauty, even in the garbage. She finds a community, but it's a twisted thing, a hierarchy that wants to control her. She climbs to the top of this hierarchy, and in doing so, discovers that she has the ability to control and harm others, and she hates it Rejecting that part of herself, she becomes harmless, scared of hurting anyone even by inconveniencing them. By being a whole person, she ends up being taken advantage of. After leaving that situation, she begins to be suspicious of other people, especially of those who are not aware, as she is, of their ability to cause harm. She realizes that she thinks more deeply about these things than others and begins to believe herself above them. She takes on a role of being adored, but is still being used. The form she is taking is still not her own, and even though she is worshipped, she feels trapped and used and is pushed to her limit, and in that breaking, she finally accepts her shadow self, claiming her personhood back from those who would take advantage of her kindness. However, she still exists in the real world. She's still controlled by capital, unable to do anything with her newfound powers against those who've risen to stratospheric heights of money and power. She turns to a project of a personal size, trying to uncover the heart of someone she loves by patience and insistence, but cannot without their help. Realizing that even with her strength, there are still things she cannot do on her own, and now knowing she is still affected by the pain of the past, she turns to the world for help and sees a place that asks her to change her physicality to be accepted, but still won't do so when she does, tells her to keep her distance to protect others, but doesn't care when they die, allows parasites to devour the earth, abandons the most vulnerable in society, wants people to objectify themselves and others, uses religion to pit men and women against each other, views hedonism as the acceptable response to the world's destruction, and weaponizes perception to degrade the other, and all of this overwhelms her. She abandons her salvation in pieces as it's chipped away by apathy and being told in so many ways that she is wrong. She takes up the only answer that she's seen. Not to fight against the parasites that have led to this end. She's already learned they're too powerful. Not to reach out to others for help. She's seen how they treat each other. She turns from the world she feels abandoned her first, but still allows its perspectives to rule her, instead of holding to the truth that she'd always known when catastrophe hits. She turns to hedonism, finding worship in the body she's been told to prioritize, claiming its sensation as the only beauty she's been able to find, and that, my friends, is the story of Hades. I really enjoyed this. And I hope you did too. It has been quite a journey. Looking back, I can say that although I liked a bit of how the first parts of the album went, the album as a whole is kind of mid, in my opinion. I found I enjoyed it less and less the more I listened to it, which is usually not my experience. But I still got a lot out of it. I got some dope art out of it. And I got to practice doing art in a way that I'm not used to. Normally I just kind of vibe it out and let the piece drive the train, but in this one, actually having pre-sketches and sketching it out before I went in to do my business, it was a useful exercise. And yeah, I'm probably going to do another one of these, another album review, hopefully with something that has a bit more meat on its bones, but I'll probably give it a couple more months before I do so, let timing of albums coming out catch it for me or some shit, learn nothing. Let chance win. But yeah, I had a good time doing this, and yeah. This was fun.